So, hey there. It's been a while since I've made a video, and it's definitely not because I was being lazy and couldn't think of anything, even though I more or less had the time to do so. Not, not at all. But here we are. I'm doing something new, or trying out something new. And this one was mainly inspired by something that happened at the start of this week as of me recording this. And I told my friends about it, talked with my friend Finn about it, and he told me, shit, bro, why don't you make a video out of this? And I was kind of, put my thinking cap on. And I was like, yeah, why not, right? That's something new. Why not? And if you don't remember, Finn is the little pink blob from my Peak video, and he's also from my Apex video that you should definitely check out. They're very funny, I promise you, definitely. Yeah. So this video will consist of 4 little stories that happened throughout my lifetime, where I've had some very strange encounters with strange individuals. And I don't really have a particular script that I'm reading off of that I prepared. I'm just doing this off of my head, the best way I can remember. There will be some humor in here and there because, again, I'm not trying to make this a super serious and dark video. That's kind of like not really how I want my channel to be, but yeah. So without further ado, story number 1. Okay, so story number 1. Out of all 4 stories, this one's definitely the most scariest slash traumatizing one, but I deem the other 3 that I'm gonna say later on to be, to some extent, near to that level of creepiness. So, first story, we're gonna go all the way back to when I was like roughly 8 years old, type shit, something like that. And just let's imagine this scenario. It was me and my best friend at the time and his older brother. And during that time, we played some soccer in elementary school, just messing around, nothing serious, right? And his older brother happened to know a thing or two about soccer. So we were just outside of their apartment complex and we were just practicing how to be better at shooting, how to be better players. Anyway, as we were practicing, there was a point where both of them got thirsty and they wanted to, go get a drink, which meant they had to go up to their apartment. And they asked me if I wanted to come along, and I was like, no, not really. And now that I'm remembering about it, I was extremely introverted as a kid, and like I probably was thirsty, but I was just too scared for some reason. I don't know. I had something going on. But anyway, I just said no. And well, I was just, on my own. And again, this was not during evening or night or anything, by all means. I was just visiting my friend at the time in the afternoon. And I was just kicking the ball around, just waiting for them until they came back down. And it's been around 10 minutes or so, And it got to a point where I was just like kind of staring at the ball mindlessly and was admiring the huge tree that they had kind of like in their general neighborhood. And this tree is kind of important for what I'm about to say in the next few minutes here. I was just kind of staring at the tree, and then I was staring back at the wall, kicking around the soccer ball. Again, I was extremely bored, just waiting for them. I thought to myself, probably one of the smartest decisions that I've ever made in my life. I just thought to myself, you know what? I think I'll just go back up, just check on them because, they're not coming down. I'm bored. Why bother sticking around? And basically, I start going up the first set of stairs. And then I hear like a very subtle slash kind of loud whistle behind me. And, obviously I just kind of turn around. And you remember that tree that I was talking about? That big tree, that very unusual big tree? Yeah, so out of nowhere there was a man standing there. Again, never seen that guy in my life. If I had to guess, maybe he was like in his mid-30s or so. And he was kind of awkwardly staring at me. I was staring at him, kind of frozen because I'm not, I think he was trying to interact with me. I was confused. And then he kind of gives me this like come here gesture with his hand, right? And again, he's not saying a word to me, by the way. And thankfully, my instincts kind of kicked in there, and I just started running up those damn stairs. Oh yeah, I was just running. I needed to make it to the highest floor, which was the fourth floor. It was like a four apartment complex. And I was just sprinting for my life because I just did not feel good. This was a very strange vibe for me. And as I'm making it to the second set of stairs, I hear, like I shit you not, I hear like sprinting behind me. Like somebody also climbing up the stairs relatively really quickly. I start panicking, like, um, not necessarily like tumbling over myself, but like my heart's beating crazy, adrenaline's going crazy. I'm running up those stairs like my life depends on it, and it probably did. And when I finally make it to my friend's floor and door, I start kicking and beating on it as crazy as I could because I am panicking, and rightfully so, because I was thinking of the worst case scenario, which was probably happening. The moment I started making all that noise, that's when the steps behind me kind of stopped and started becoming more distant. Somebody was like sprinting down now, type thing. My friend's mom opened the door, kind of saw me really panicked, asked me what's wrong. I explained everything. The police was called. Obviously, unfortunately, nobody was found. I kind of tried to describe the appearance as best as I could, and again, even now when I'm thinking about it, it's like foggy. I don't remember what the guy looked like, but yeah. Definitely probably one of the most traumatizing times of my life. Could have ended really bad had I not chosen to probably get up the stairs at that time, if I stayed any longer, or at least decided to. And I'm really glad that I did not freeze and just started running. And that kind of started this phobia, and I don't know, I don't want to like diagnose myself with any phobias, but let's just say that I got very skeptical and intimidated by strangers. And I think this story is like a more or less reasonable reason to kind of feel that way. Because I'm telling you, I did not want to stay home alone for the next few weeks. And again, my parents thankfully understood that. So I was mainly hanging around with my grandpa, who would always visit. And I calmed down over the years because nothing happened until, much later. So yeah, this is story number one. Definitely the scariest one out of the four, like I said, but it definitely evolves into something that will be a consistent trend in the next three stories. So story number two. So story number two, this one happened when I was still back in high school. So, okay, let me give an estimate here. So right now in my fourth year of university, so like 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, something like that, right? And basically, kind of the context here is at the time, my girlfriend was living like literally 5 minutes away from where I lived, so it was a very short walk to visit each other. And I was just visiting, nothing new here. Just my casual visit. We were hanging around, and then towards the evening, I would leave. Now, the season where this was all happening was during winter, and during winter, sunlight kind of goes away really quickly. So it could be like 5 p.m. and we are nearing pitch dark. So again, this is an estimate, but I probably left from my girlfriend's place at around maybe like 7 p.m. And again, I'm walking. It's a 5 minute walk or so. Like I did not need a car or anything, right? And so, I'm heading out, say my goodbyes to her, and as I'm about to head out to like the sidewalk, there's yet again a tree. And this is a coincidence. I don't know what's up with these weirdos and trees, but it just listen, it just happened. Anyway, as I'm walking by, the tree is roughly, let's say maybe like 10 feet away from me. A little bit far, but not really. And as I'm walking, I hear like probably one of the more strangest and intimidating sounds you could probably hear at 7 p.m. at pitch dark, which was like a basic like psst, somebody trying to get my attention type thing. And when I tell you, I froze. Unlike the first time where, I kind of froze for a bit, but I started instantly running. No, this time I froze. My flight or fright response was fright. I was scared this time because initially I didn't see any like immediate threat. I was thinking to myself, oh my god, maybe I'm imagining this, like maybe it was like a branch or something, like surely that was not a person, right? And in my head, I'm recalling that first story in my head, getting a little bit of a episode there, but nothing serious, just recalling it in my head. And I was thinking, okay, do I just go back to my girlfriend's place, kind of explain the situation, or do I just move along and assume that I'm probably crazy and, I just probably imagined it, right? And, like my manly pride at the time, I thought to myself, like, okay, I maybe just imagined it. I'm just being scared for no reason, and I should just move on. Which, by the way, horrible advice. If you genuinely feel like you're threatened or you feel like somebody is watching you and you are like a few steps away from safety, go to the safety. Like don't try to be like all like not scared or like, trying to be a hero type thing. Like if you feel like there's a genuine threat that makes you uncomfortable passing by, go to a safe space and work it around. But again, I didn't do that, but so I just kept moving. So now I'm walking on like this neighborhood. I'm walking in the middle of the road because there's no sidewalks necessarily. It's just kind of like a main road and there's cars parked beside houses. That's kind of like my POV here. And what did not make this any more easier was the fact that half of the street lights were not really working. Where I was walking there was light, but then as I go further and further it got darker and darker, which did not help at all. As I am cautiously walking back home, I hear this psst sound again. And this time I'm like, okay, I am not imagining this. I am getting freaked out. I look back immediately. Again, don't see anyone. This second one, though, was a little bit more further. It was not as close to me. So at this point, again, I'm trying to kind of rationalize what's happening. I thought to myself, okay, maybe it's someone playing a prank on me. Maybe somebody see me walking alone. They're just trying to scare me and they're probably like hiding behind the cars or something. Maybe it's some teenager, kid, whatever. But that thought did not make it really any easier for me. So, I started like speed walking at this point. I kind of like looking around everywhere because I did not feel comfortable. This was really weird to me. I'm at the point where I have to start making a right turn along my journey here, and I hear it one last time. I hear another psst. But that one was the furthest one out of the three. When I heard that one, that's when my instincts finally kicked in, and then I started sprinting. I said, kind of, fuck it. I'm not, like, prank or not, I'm not messing with this. I am running. Which, at minus 15 or maybe lower is not a great idea because everything is slippery. One little misstep and I could have probably broken my teeth or something. But no, I kept running. Another reason why I kept running is because I was passing by a park. And it was like kind of like a big park. It was a big empty park with a few hills here and there. And yet again, there was no lights there. It was just a very dark kind of like environment, which again did not really help with my paranoia at this point in time. So I started sprinting even faster. Finally made it home, kind of explained the situation to my parents because they see like I almost ran a marathon and told that talked about it to my girlfriend, and basically the verdict here was that maybe somebody was playing a prank on me, or somebody was a little drunk or something, and maybe they were just trying to mess with me. I don't know what it was. At the end of the day, there was no point in calling the police or anything. It wasn't like super serious, right? But it definitely made me a little paranoid for like a week or so. Again, same thing with story one, just shorter. But yeah, this is story two. Again, my I guess strangers were definitely putting me on guard more. Like at this point, when this was happening, I was a lot more cautious in my bus stops. Just kind of looking around, know my general surroundings. And I was, how do I say it, more on guard, which I think anyone should be. Honestly, like I think it's a good idea to generally be aware of your surroundings. So finally, kind of started doing that after these two interactions. But yeah, story three. Story 3. Now, this one is definitely more recent. This one happened around a little bit over a month ago, maybe November 2025. And I guess out of all four, this was the least scariest one, but it definitely had a sketchy vibe to it. And basically, I was just heading out of the gym, and my gym is located in like a city hub. So you have like the gym, you have like a supermarket, Walmart in my case, other clothing stores and whatnot, right? I have my typical route to get there, but This time I decided to take a slightly different route, just on an opposite side of my usual route. And because my initial route is kind of like I have to go through this slightly lonely corner where some homeless people like to sit. And I guess at the time, I'm pretty sure there was a homeless guy who was a little bit weaky, so to speak. So I decided, you know what? I passed by him the first time. Let me just go another way, just in case. And as I was passing by, I was passing by the Walmart, which was the biggest store, or is the biggest store, sorry, in the whole hub. And I'm walking behind it. And then you have the parking for the people who order groceries, and you have employees giving them their groceries. So I went a little further, and then there's another parking there, just an empty one. Well, it wasn't necessarily too empty. There was one singular black car that kind of, had a guy there, again, probably in his 40s, maybe mid 40s, who was walking around with his dog, just circling the car, which was interesting. But basically, me and him made an eye contact for a split second, and he kind of noticed me. He opened the door of the car and he let his dog in. So his dog was just in the car. And then he was like kind of slowly approaching me, and then he put his hands in his pocket. When I saw that, again, my heart started beating a little bit. I do not like seeing strangers approaching me with their hands in their pockets. I don't know what he's gonna pull out of there. So as I'm walking slowly, kind of maintaining eye contact with him, until only 5 feet away, maybe like 6, 7 feet, whatever. Whatever. He started speaking to me. He did not say a word to me until he was this close to me, which again was very strange. He pulls his hands out of his pockets. I kind of have like this split heartbeat skip in a moment, and he hands me like a wrap, like a wrap from KFC or something. I think the wrapping was, and then he gives me one of those little Bible books, to like talk about Jesus Christ. You know those people, right? And he was just telling me like, oh, have a jolly Christmas, brother, right? And like, here, take this. I offer you this wrap. And I'm like, oh, yeah, man, for sure. Thanks. Yeah. Because then again, I didn't want it, but denying it would probably kind of elongate our interaction, which I did not want. So I just kind of said, yeah, for sure, man. Thanks. You have a good holidays too. So I'm moving along. I'm holding this wrap in my hand, and I did not eat that. I was just walking, scouting for the nearest dumpster. Accepting food from a stranger, even if the wrapping looks official and not like custom or whatever, is not kind of like on my, oh yeah, definitely do this list. I was kind of walking with this thing in my hand, looking for the nearest dumpster, kind of looking around behind me as well to make sure that I wasn't being followed. This might just be me overreacting at this point, but I have reasons. And I found the nearest public dumpster, and I just shoved that in there. I did not even throw this out at home. Like, I did not want this thing anywhere near me. For all I know, it could have been just a harmless gesture, right? Just a guy wanting to give someone food, right? But in my head, I was thinking, oh my God, what if he poisoned it? What if there's cyanide in there? Right? And that's why I did not want to eat that. And it's just the way that he was approaching me, not speaking until he was relatively close to me, and then kind of circling his car with his dog for some reason. I don't know what that was about. It was just kind of sketchy to me. If you or you have a family member or a friend who does this, where, they just want to do a nice gesture, give some food to some random people just to make them happier, I'm sorry. I don't think all of you are evil by any means, but based on my two previous stories, I have my reasons to be skeptical of strangers. So again, no offense, but yeah, it might have been an overreaction, but I thought that was the safest and best choice possible. So yeah, this one was the least creepiest out of the four, I would say. And now we are gonna head into story 4, which happened as of me recording this about 4 days ago. And kind of the whole reason why I even wanted to make this video. So story 4. So, story 4. This one, nothing necessarily super scary happened, but there was like that one moment, where you think, wow, this is a very, very uncomfortable situation that's making me think of the worst type thing. I have a schedule when I go to the gym. I have my specific days that I go to, and I have my specific time, which in this case is like around 10:30 a.m. It's a pretty consistent schedule, right? I don't mix it up. So, my walk to the gym is about 10 plus minutes, and it's actually located in the exact same hub I was talking about in the previous story. So it's like not that far from me. And so, I'm kind of taking my first 2 or so minutes of the journey, and I, pass by the usual four-way stop intersection. Nothing really unusual there. And as I'm about like maybe 10 feet away from actually crossing, this white semi truck comes out of absolutely nowhere. It just kind of, like, I don't know, like the guy was probably going like 50 or something, even though he shouldn't have been. It's a very like a small zone. And he started skidding nearly to the middle of the intersection, right? Very, very unexpected. So I stop, and then he puts it on reverse. So to make it to the stop sign again. And he kind of aligns his windows with me, and he pulls them down, and I see yet again some maybe middle-aged man, maybe in his middle 40s, maybe late 40s, I don't know, but that's kind of like the general image here. And I'm kind of looking at it and I'm like, I have never seen this guy in my life before. He's not a neighbor that I know of. I just don't know this guy. Don't know who that is. And he just kind of in a whole kind of happy but kind of creepy tone kind of tells me a sentence that kind of put a chill down my spine because anyway, he just told me or asked me, "Hey, you're going to the gym, right? Do you want to ride perchance?" And again, my immediate answer was, "Oh yeah, no, thanks, man. I'm good. Like, don't worry about it." And then he just kind of tries to kind of push on it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I understand this may come off weird, but like, like I just thought I saw you walking." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, thanks. I'm good. Thank you for the gesture." He's like, "You sure?" I'm like, yeah, man, I'm good." He's like, "Okay, okay." I am kind of thankful that there was two other cars in that four-way stop intersection because he was the first one who made the stop. So technically, he is the first one who's supposed to, move on. And there was two cars kind of sitting there awkwardly waiting for him to finish the conversation with me so that he moved on. And after my third no, he, pulled up his windows, and he continued driving. And just out of curiosity, I kind of tracked where he was driving just to see, is he actually driving to the gym? Because what I assumed in my head initially was like, oh, maybe it's a guy from the gym and he just maybe saw me walking to the gym once, or he knows me from the gym, so like he maybe wanted to offer a ride. No, he actually took the exact opposite way of the city hub that I was, or store hub that I was talking about. So basically, the way the store hub works is it's kind of an enclosed area where the only way you can enter it via vehicle is you have to kind of continue driving down until you get to the main road, and then you have like two entrances that you can enter through. There's no other way. You cannot go through the back. There's no road for that. And he just so happened to be driving to the back. And that creeped me out because when I saw that, I was thinking about that first sentence that he told me. The whole like, "Oh, you going to the gym, right?" And I was starting to be, again, paranoid in my head. Like, how does he know where I'm going? Like, I've never seen this guy in my life and he just knows where I'm going. Okay, that's weird. That's creepy. So I was thinking to myself, if I see this guy in the gym, then maybe he just saw me a few times and, like he just recognized me, right? So as I was cautiously going to the gym, consistently looking around me to make sure that I didn't have a semi-white truck following me everywhere, I made it to the gym, just doing my usual stuff. Just kind of being on the lookout, maybe I'll see him, maybe I won't, maybe he'll pass by me and say like, "Hey again," type thing. For the whole hour plus that I was in that gym, I did not see this guy at all. He was just not there, which made me, again, paranoid, thinking of the worst. Like, who did I just interact with and why does he know where I go? So I was started of thinking of like ways of like, well, actually no. Initially, I was starting to think of like the quote unquote good stuff. Maybe he was just being nice, maybe something. But again, in my head, I was thinking like, okay, no, this guy was weird. So as I was heading home after the workout, I was thinking, I don't think I want to go home in the exact same direction as I usually go. And unfortunately, at the time, I didn't take my wallet, which had my bus pass. Um, because the way I entered into the gym is like through the app on the phone. I don't really need my wallet. And I don't carry my wallet around in the gym because again, it's like an extra thing to worry about in my pocket and it's uncomfortable. I don't like leaving my personal stuff in the a locker at least that I don't own. So the bus was not an option, even though that probably would have been the best option. So I was thinking like, okay, I have one very unoptimized, very like strange road back to my home, which would probably add an extra 10 or so minutes on my general like journey. It was kind of cold out. It was like -20 or even cooler, so I kind of didn't want to extend my walking time outside if I could avoid it. So I've kind of decided on a different route. The start is very similar to my usual route, but I would start walking around like a few neighborhood blocks to kind of randomize where I'm going. And again, I was cautiously looking out for a white semi truck. I was creeped out. I did not like the fact that this guy knew where I was going when we first interacted. And mind you, when we interacted, I was like 2 or so minutes away from home. For all I know, he knows where I lived. When I recognized that, I was actually pulling out my front door camera just to make sure that there's no white semi truck just chilling there in city. Like it's like I felt like I was playing Five Nights at Freddy in this bitch. Like I was just making sure that nobody is at the front porch. Nobody was, so I just kept walking. And after the most randomized and weirdest route to my home, I decided that it would probably be a good idea, just in case, just an extra precaution, to, go around the house. So instead of taking the main sidewalk that leads to my front door, I went around the block and decided to kind of like walk in the driveway where cars drive to park behind their homes or like enter their garage from behind. That's where I was walking, and I entered through the back door just in case. Again, I did not want anyone to see that where my house is type thing. Took my extra precaution. I checked if the door is locked. Door is locked. I unlocked the first lock. Door is still locked. Good. I unlock the second lock, door opens, and the moment I enter, I instantly close the door behind me on both locks. And as I step out from the kind of the back door, which leads directly into the kitchen, I look out into the living room, and I just see my cat chilling there, kind of sleeping there, being very unalarmed. So, that kind of calmed me down. I sometimes use my cat as like a little detector for anything weird, like any weird noise that happens in the house that does not sound familiar. I just kind of look at her sometimes to see how alarmed she is. And if she isn't, then probably nothing serious is going on. But then again, this is what my cat looks like half of the time. So for all I know, I could probably have like 3 people, strangers, enter my basement and she will just kind of look like this. So it's like a 50-50 relying on that. But anyway, with that aside, I just kind of like, put my stuff down and I just kind of sat. I was just sitting awkwardly, kind of scrolling through my phone for like maybe 20 or so minutes because even though I was already in the safety of my house, I was kind of still paranoid with this idea that like, what if this guy knows where my house is? Because again, I was only leaving 2 minutes in and then we had this interaction. For all I know, like he knows where I live. Nothing was happening. I calmed down a bit. I go shower, do my usual stuff, and that's kind of the end of this story. And ironically, yesterday, because I did tell this to my parents, right? That there's probably some weird guy going around. My mom came up to me yesterday evening and she showed me like a news article in our city, which was talking about like a predator, let's just say that, and who happened to have an interest in male victims. And okay, that sounded very fitting to what I was imagining in my head when I had that interaction, but okay. So I was kind of reading along. Then there was a picture in which I'm not going to show. The age of the individual that I saw looked awfully familiar to the guy that I saw in that semi-white truck. So I kind of started like thinking in my head, like, no fucking way. Like, no way. Surely, there's no way this is him. But on his mugshot, he did have glasses on, and the guy that interacted with me did not have glasses on, and he is constantly patrolled and supervised by another person, and he does not have any access to weapons or a driving license. And obviously the guy who interacted with me was in a car, he was in a vehicle. So I was thinking, okay, probably not him, but the timing was a bit coincidental. And that's all 4 stories. So I'm not gonna say that I'm like an expert at evading strangers. I just kind of take the precautions that I've learned through on the internet and kind of from my own experience, because I'm not perfect. Like, I can even point out a few mistakes that I've made in my previous stories, so to speak. First story, I think I did more or less everything right, apart from the fact that I did not make noise. Again, if you're being chased by someone, last thing they want is for you to start screaming your lungs out because you bring attention, right? And since I was in an apartment complex, that was actually one of the best times to start screaming my lungs out. Because again, there's people in their apartments, they would probably hear me. I didn't do that, but again, me banging on and kicking on the door at the last second was probably what kind of continued to save me. That was I think, my main mistake in that story. Second mistake, second story, it's kind of like the opposite of the first story, right? Because in the first story, I kind of reacted instantly, right? You know, trusted my instinct and I started running. Second one, I just kind of froze and I still kept walking anyway, which again, probably should have trusted my instincts and probably returned to my girlfriend's place, explained the situation, and maybe somebody would pick me up because again, I was creeped out. It was very weird. But the reason I kept going is because I didn't see any immediate danger. But again, you can never be too careful. If you genuinely feel like you're being watched and you just don't feel comfortable, go to a safe place. Like don't do what I did. And yeah, so what I'm trying to get at here is that I'm no expert. A few tips that I can give is like, your basic ones. Like if you feel like you're being followed, go into like a public area, where there's a lot of people there. Try to kind of make sure that you're actually not being followed, or you are in this case. Another one that I did was like randomize my routes to get home, right? Because right now, I started going to the gym like in like different times. Not at my 10:30. I started heading out later than usual. On some days, I will head out earlier than usual. We'll take the bus, even though it's like a 5-minute bus. It's fine. It's like a safe way to, get to the gym. So I'm doing that for now. Just kind of being aware of your general surroundings. And my favorite one is the moment you enter your home, apartment, whatever, don't kind of leave your door open slash unlocked, right? You enter your home, close the door, instantly lock it, right? There is a bunch of videos that you can search up on YouTube where some people just simply do not lock their doors immediately when they enter their houses or cars, and that kind of gives an opportunity for a potential stranger with some ill intent to approach you because you're kind of giving them access to your safe place. I like to check my locks before I enter home because if I know I locked the door and I know nobody should be home and the door is open, I am not getting in that place. And always when I enter home, I always lock my doors immediately. Same thing if I get into a car and I'm driving. I kind of do like a little 360 of my general surroundings, just in case. And I quickly enter into the driver's seat and I press that little button that kind of locks every single door in the car. And that's it. Again, just little safety precautions that you can take that can honestly, like, genuinely probably save you. You may call it overreacting, you may call it like paranoid, but it's like until you actually experience something that you can hopefully like escape and come out unharmed, you will start appreciating these methods a lot more. So yeah, this is kind of my 4 stories. I don't think I'll be doing this often. I don't really have anything like that more interesting apart from these 4 stories, but if this somehow becomes one of my like more popular videos somehow, then if anything ever happens that's super interesting, whether it be creepy or just cool, I'll make another video. I'm kind of having fun with this. And I just obviously had this Minecraft gameplay in the background this whole time, which by the way, initially I wanted to play and tell the stories, but I knew for a fact that doing this, especially for the first time, would be disastrous because you'll probably just gonna see me like jumping around on my chest or something, like because I would not be able to focus about like playing and also telling the story. So I decided to use some pre-recorded footage and whatever abysmal gameplay you're seeing, don't worry about it. again, just something for the background. Again, I'm not trying to impress anyone with my gameplay here. So yeah, this was the video. I hope you liked it. Stay safe, be aware, and hopefully the next video will not be in like 6 months or something. I hope, but we'll see what I can come up with. So yeah. Thanks for watching.